anything about Senate Bill 25? I think that's on that redevelopment.
Bill 25, I'm not familiar with it at the moment. That's the number. It's probably not on the committee that I'm on. I chair the Judiciary Committee, but that would go for the Judiciary Committee. Oh, Kenway, well, that's, he's chairman of the Appropriations Committee, Redevelopment Commission, and Authority for the Local Government Committee. It's still there, but I cannot give you any more than that.
Okay, thank you.
I know I've had a hearing on.
Yeah, my question is, does the state of Indiana require labor unions to tell how much is going in salaries to the international representatives and, stewards and so forth, as well as into political action? Do they have to break down their,
No, they're not subject to public order. They're the internal.
The salaries are for local union officials. They file LM-10s every year.
It is,
So
okay.
it can be accessed online. You can find out whatever they make, what they're reimbursed. As far as the breakdown on contributions, I can't answer that. I can't say yes or no. I'd say it probably is somewhere, but I'm not going to
I
say yes
think
or
there
no.
is some way of checking on contributions. I believe there is.
Is
I
that,
can't tell you.
you said online, is that unionfacts.org or what?
No, it's,
That's a wrong website.
I can't think of it right off the top of my head.
Chuck, do you know which website it is?
I'm trying to think, Bob. It's the Department of Labor.
Yeah.
They've got us by the neck, so I checked
We
them.
got to supply all that information to DOL.
LM240s, all that. It's there. It's open.
We're highly regulated.
We're more highly regulated than Wall Street, believe me. And we didn't get a bailout.
That's not bragging,
You got to work for Fannie Mae.
You have a question?
Yeah. Scott Bienick, Bob, political background, but I wanted to ask if there's any talk in Indiana. There's some stories about whether or not President Obama and McCain both qualified for the ballot here in Indiana in 2008. I think that's a little embarrassing. Is there any talk? Indiana is now in the minority among states, requiring such a high signature threshold to get on the ballot, and we have it, of course, for our senator and governor as well. Any talk changing that to make it a little easier? I think it's a bipartisan. I mean, it's good for both parties for us to have our major national candidates on our ballot. And I know that, given the state of affairs, at least this cycle, that it may not matter by the time it gets to Indiana, but it may. And I think that's sort of disappointing.
I haven't heard him talk about it in our side. I don't know about the Senate, but I think that was up in, St. Joe County, and that was unfortunate.
Well, that was Obama, but there was questions about McCain as well, whether he qualified in some of the districts around the state. And I just came off a presidential campaign where, it takes quite a bit of money to do that. I think it's a terrible shame that we have such a high threshold here in Indiana. I just wanted to know if there's any talk.
I heard some discussion about it, but I don't know, I'm not aware of a bill pending that would do that. We could do it, but it was by statute.
Sure.
Okay.
I feel bad that we've come in like stormtroopers and attacked people. We didn't mean to. We're just very passionate about union and right to work and so forth, as well as you are passionate about how you feel, and that's fine. And we didn't mean to offend anybody. We're just glad we live in a democracy and we're able to come and listen and share. But my question to you is, in your introductory comment, you mentioned something about you didn't think in a democracy that you should be able to walk out.
I said you should not be able to walk out.
Yeah, have the Republicans ever walked out of any of the sessions, and if so, what did that deal with them?
How many times?
Yeah, how many times?
They have.
They have? Do you remember what
They
issues?
didn't go to Urbana, Illinois, but they did.
Yeah.
They did walk out. I'm in the Senate. I was not there at that time. I'm in the House at that time. I think it
Didn't
was
they,
nice as
the
well.
Republicans walk out, on the redistricting 10 years ago for like a day?
I think you're right,
that's
Bob.
right.
Wasn't that it?
I think you're right.
You know, understand one day, and that, but still, it was a, they had a caucus.
I don't approve of that, but anyway, what they did, they went to caucus, but the caucus was rather lengthy. But it was, I think it disrupted one day. You see, you understand the procedure, if you do not have a quorum, you cannot do business. And a quorum is 2/3. Now, there's no problem in the Senate, of course, actually, we have a supermajority, and the Democrats walk out, we still have a quorum. But the Vice President has expressed that, it's never been an issue since I've been in the Senate.
Why is there such an opposition to this going to a referendum? I mean, it seems to me like it'd get the heat off of you guys and let the
We
people.
probably used to have to get heat on. The idea was, the Constitution does say, and subject to wide interpretation, that the law shall be passed by the General Assembly.
Could it be on the opinion of the people? I mean, could
We've
this,
done that,
This is a republic, not a pure
but
democracy.
he's right, Republic, democracy. I guess you pass the laws by the population in ancient Rome or the Greek city-states, but it's rather hard to do can you
it's
imagine?
just such a divisive,
6 million people trying to write a budget?
Yeah, it's just such a divisive thing. It just seems to be killing everything.
But and again, I'll bring the legal side to this. What does that get us? But nothing more than an advisory opinion that you could take in a poll, and then the legislature
It's an
still
advisory
has to
opinion.
reconvene and pass it anyway. And then if people are unhappy, you still have a walkout situation. So, there's no guarantee that those folks are going to come back to the table just because it got passed in a referendum.
Let's go ahead.
No guarantee.
You have a question?
Connie Sands. I'd appreciate everybody raising their hand because we're all just talking amongst ourselves again, which we said we weren't going to do. But I have a question about House Bill 1007. The third one down, it says DCS will visit a home within 9 months to investigate possible child abuse and neglect. What length of time do they have now before they investigate?
Well,
It's 9 months, I mean,
They're
if
supposed to-
someone's being abused, they could be having another baby by now. And do we really care about our kids if we wait 9 months to investigate it?
I'm not sure what that 9 months means, but DCS can make an investigation immediately upon receiving the information.
My parents, they do foster care, and it seems that when there is a accusation made to DCS, that they don't wait 9 months normally, unless they think that it's an unwarranted, it has to be something that's really, really, is no worries to them.
They can start the initiation of that.
Yeah, they start, if they hear that there might be drugs or, something like that, they go in right away. They don't, it's not something that they wait around on.
Right, but I'm thinking, I think they're understaffed anyway,
They are.
so does this not if they're real busy that month, does that not give them another month to look at it, and another month,
Well, they
and
can
some
do
child will fall
it, they
through
can do
the
it
cracks?
immediately, I know that.
But they try to
If
figure
they
it
have the
out.
personnel and.
I just wondered why that was in there, the 9 month, I mean,
And that's something we'll probably, hopefully in the second reading on the floor, we'll discuss. That just kind of came out of the committee there. I wasn't part of that committee, but, it's looking at, as far as can we have drug testing for people receiving welfare benefits. I mean, that's kind of the crux of that. And so, that's what it's getting to.
I have,
And,
is that gonna be on is the drug testing gonna be on the agenda?
bills here.
There's some legislation to that effect, yes.
Their sheet.
Just as a clarification point, I do deal directly with our local DCS. I was actually in a meeting this week on subjects pertaining to this. So I'd just like to say that from our local standpoint, yes, we're understaffed as a lot of state agencies are working, as bare as they possibly can. But I can assure you that if there's a situation where there is a real question of a possible emergency, if you will, may not be the best way to describe it, but for lack of my vocabulary, they move immediately. If there's a question, they will move in before the police leave the area. It's that quick. we've got about 10 minutes here more too. Remind you, time's getting short, so.
Jeff.
Jeff Sullivan, in Owen County, but what was the clarification on that, on the drug testing, that they are trying to pass the word, people on welfare have to have drug tests? Is that what was going on, or what's?
Yeah, basically, I think, before you receive your welfare check, there's been an outcry of that from people in the past as far as, hey, I have to take, people say, I have to take a drug test to go to work. And this individual over here who receives a welfare check doesn't even have to. And some people say, if that person, I know so-and-so and so-and-so who receives those checks, they're doing drugs. And so, that bill, House Bill 1007, deals with, if you're going to receive welfare benefits, you're going to get drug tested. And again, it hasn't reached the floor yet for as far as discussion, and I haven't read that total bill with the amendments and so forth at this time, but it is a big issue. I know people down in Monroe County, we asked them, what they thought of that, and about 112 people, about 99% of them was all for that. So it's
What's the end game? I mean, are they going to deny benefits if they fail the test, or is it identification and treatment?
I think it may be a combination thereof. I don't know if they're going to, withhold that check for the next 30 days until they get clean or what. But again, this is something that we're going to have to find out once it gets out on the floor, and we'll talk about it. And there could be even more amendments, into that. And then it goes over to the Senate and see what they say about it as well.
Okay, I have a follow-up information on that site information about companies located in Indiana. This is from the Notre Dame report.
Site selection group.
Yeah, it says Robert Eddy was a longtime executive at the White Touche, consulting leading site location for him. He said he has said he has assisted more site locations than any living person. It includes the quality of the workforce, not low wages, that is decisive in site location. You refer to that. The single most important factor in site selection is the quality of the available workforce. Companies located in expanded communities can demonstrate that the indigenous workforce has the necessary skills required by the company, or they have the training facilities to develop those skills for the company.
That's just a comment or what, but Todd Thacker, I talked to Todd a couple of times up here at the State House. Todd he's the president or whatever. Business manager of IBEW number 725, with the electrical contractors in Terre Haute. And Todd and I, we've talked a couple of times, and Todd said to me a couple of weeks ago, he says, well, Bob, he says, why are we going this route and so forth? And well, Indiana, thanks to Governor Daniels, is like 5th or 6th as far as the country goes, as far as a very good, friendly business climate to attract businesses to the Midwest, to Indiana. And I said, yeah, that's great. We want to be, it's nice to be 6th instead of 27th. But wouldn't it be nice to be number 1? And how do we get to that? Well, if we become a right-to-work state, will that make us go up the ladder to 1? Who's to say? Dick probably
says no.
Studies might say no. Some studies you can probably find that's probably they help. And I don't know who number 1 is. To be honest with you.
Study said that companies that are attracted mainly by low wages have already gone to China.
We have our tax climate is pretty good. Whether that's going to save the day, or whether someone wants to have a nice beach out there in the backyard, if we're going to have a little trouble flying. But our tax situation is much better than many other states, especially in our Rust Belt, and that's one thing we've got to allow for, is the fact the world is changing. And I don't like the change, but it doesn't make any difference. We may be the largest steel producing state in the Union, But really, who cares, because of steel production, I think China's outproducing the United States in steel right now.
China outproduces not only us, but the USA, Europe, practically the rest of the world in steel production and foundries.
And that used to be our big,
Just by themselves.
that used to be our
Yeah,
strong
everything.
point. Our point is
Paris.
Lake Michigan, that's gone.
That's because we gave them the work.
Since
Can I ask you a question?
Since 1993, basically. That's,
Since Nixon opened it up,
well, Bill Clinton.
Nixon's the one that opened it up.
There you go, left and the right.
We got one more question though, we got to.
Can I ask you a question about something that's probably only bothering me? Nobody else is bothered by this, but I'm bothered by GMOs, genetically modified seeds and organisms. What I would like is if cattle are fed Roundup Ready corn, which is genetically modified, for the beef from those cattle to be labeled so that I can stay away from them. If other people want to eat that stuff, fine, free country, but I want to avoid it because there's too many questions about it.
Right.
So if Indiana, you folks can work on that for Indiana and get that kind of food labeled.
Truth in advertising.
Yeah, I think we deserve to know what we're eating.
Let me see if we can do that. It'd probably be easier for the federal government, but I'm not trying to dodge the bullet at all.
I think
If
we do it
could,
at the
maybe
state
we
level.
should.
California's doing it right now.
Then we probably could.
Yeah, right. Well, other than right on this. But if you folks aren't concerned about it, fine, I am.
You know, I don't know how you deal with it, but I think he's definitely on track.
Right.
How many cases have we heard on the news of food coming in from China, or there's a few other countries that fall in that bracket with China, that is making people sick? And I think the state of Indiana may not be able to make a big dent, but we need to take and do something to maybe help wake up the federal government to get involved. And we need to look at this. I mean, I don't understand why we're buying beef from other countries when we can raise all we need here, and or even grains from other countries when we can raise all of ours here. So and that would eliminate some of maker food here.
Actually, ironically, one of our biggest exports now is agriculture.
Yeah.
So you should think of some of the big industrial nations.
Yeah.
So we are. But the main, it's the exports that's holding up the price of corn and soy.
Do it for me.
I think we're going to go ahead and round it off.
Bob,
Chuck's got one.
I just want to thank you for listening to loudmouth like me, and you're our representative. I appreciate you listening to
I'll
us.
listen to you down there.
One more.
We will
We're
make
done.
the same comments the next time.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, welcome.
Thank you for
Ride
listening.
carefully to your next one.
Yeah.
I probably won't be in next time. I'll try to go over to Greencastle. And I can't make Spencer and Greencastle both the same, on the same Saturday.